Hello and welcome to True Crime Diary, a light-hearted podcast on a serious subject. Every 2 weeks we look back through true crime stories to discuss an event that took place on this week in history. I'm your host Mark Decana, and with me as always are my friends Jed Lester.
Hello.
And Rue Turner.
Hello.
So the date we're looking at this episode is the 7th of January. And in 1898, Theodore Durrant was executed for 2 murders at the Emmanuel Baptist Church in San Francisco. Murders for which he became known as the Demon of the Belfry.
What did you call me?
That's a great name.
Great
It
name.
is.
Arguably best part of the story.
Yep. It is quite a good name, though, isn't it?
Mm.
It's so of the time, isn't it?
It's a great gothic name.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Was he not very nice?
Well, on the contrary, he was very nice.
Happy New Year, everyone. On the contrary, it was very nice.
It was very nice.
Hang on.
Whoa.
I'm very nice. But I don't kill... What did he kill?
2 women.
2 women. I don't kill 2 women.
That we know of.
So far.
Yep.
So, he was a medical student in his early 20s.
Yeah. That
bodes ill.
Doesn't it? Kind of sends shivers a bit. Kind of you know, like people who join the army so they can kill people.
Yeah.
Because there are people who do that, aren't there?
Yes.
It's the equivalent dubious.
So,
I'm going to become
medical
mum.
school.
I'm going to pick up. I'm a doctor. Oh, brilliant! Brackets to
cut people up.
yes, whether they want it or not.
Well, there's that, yeah.
Well, let's see what's inside.
He was also assistant superintendent of the Sunday school at his church.
Oh God! Bring that into it. Even worse.
Being a member of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're
He's
asking.
bound to be a wrong un.
Yep. He'll chop people up. I don't even know if he did chop people up, but whatever he did it with the goodwill of the Lord.
Well, this is the turn of the last century, so someone who is aspiring to be in the medical profession and also volunteers at their local church.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you couldn't have a more flawless and trustworthy
Oh yeah,
individual, could you?
absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or could you?
Off the scale, he knows what he's talking about, kind of thing.
Yeah. Intelligent and generous and with his time and all that stuff.
Ear of the Lord.
Yeah.
He was a fine, upstanding American boy.
Anyway, turns out not so much.
Joking. So who was he? He was a young medical student, and
Yes. He was born in Toronto, Canada. But when he was young, his family moved to San Francisco.
Wow, San Francisco.
It was him, his ma and pa, and a younger sister named Beulah Maud, but she became quite famous as an actress and dancer named Maud Allen.
Yeah.
And she was embroiled in scandals of her own in later years, but she was a very well-known dancer.
Right.
So, again, poor but respectful family.
So he did very well by getting on the right path to, I don't know, becoming a doctor or...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You see, I live here as a respectable citizen. I should hate to have it known that I am not what I seem to be.
Enter Blanche Lamont.
That's such a made-up Hollywood name, isn't it?
Blanche Lamont, school teacher,
Yep.
age 20. She met Durrant at an electric trolley stop in 1895, and they rode together on the trolley.
Yep.
And when they got off the trolley, they were observed by someone named Mary Noble walking down the street towards the Baptist church where he volunteered.
Yep.
And another witness saw them entering the church together. And then George King, who was the choir director at the church, saw Durrant some few hours later looking pale and shaken.
You look like you've seen a ghost.
Yeah.
And Durrant asked him to go and get him some medicine, so gave him some money, and he went to drugstore to get some medicine.
Medicine in the loosest sense.
I mean, in 1895, probably heroin.
Oh, yes, of course. I was
It'll be
thinking
some
of
sort of opiate.
Cocaine.
Yeah, I was just thinking of some, I don't know, some oils or something.
Get me a unguent.
What's an elixir? It's one of my favourite
Elixir.
top 5 words, I'd say. An elixir.
An elixir.
What's an elixir? Is that like an oil
Just a-
thing?
Yeah.
It's nothing,
Solution.
basically, is
A
it?
reduction.
A concoction.
An
yeah.
unguent.
Elixir.
A balm.
Brilliant word, that. Going to the drugstore, right, yes, they literally would have got some
Hello, can I have some amphetamines,
drugs.
please?
Yeah. Are we 1898, or was this earlier?
1995 at this point.
So, on the basis, more than 30 years later, penicillin was invented.
Yeah.
It wasn't pain-killing
It was
stuff.
no, it was just something. Yeah, it was probably going to be like
Some
opium or something.
Yeah.
Have some opium
Love some.
and a course of leeches
Yeah, exactly.
or some such.
Yeah.
Well, cocaine was used as a painkiller as well, wasn't it? You just rub it directly on.
But it just distracted the brain, didn't it? As opposed to
yeah.
kill the pain.
No, you'd use it for like dental pain. You can rub cocaine directly on it, and it would just numb it.
It would not.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure I've...
But you're probably better off with a bit of clove oil than you are with
Right.
a pocket full of cocaine.
Yeah, sure.
I've been practicing medicine for 29 years and I still don't know how to do it well.
So when King came back from the drugstore, he said Durrant was looking a lot better.
Oh,
He was
well,
still,
that didn't take long.
yeah, he was still said, he still said, complained that he was dizzy, but he said it looked a lot better. And then Mrs. Noble, who saw them walking down the street to the church, she came into the church looking for Blanche Lamont a little while later during evensong.
Yep.
At which point Durrant went up to her and asked her about Blanche. How's Blanche? And she said, "Oh, I'm worried about her. I haven't seen her in a few hours."
Yep.
And then
Even though they went into the church together.
they went to church together.
Yeah.
He said, I'm sorry that she's not here. I'll come round later and bring her a book. And he did. He went round to the house later, bringing a book with.
What was the connection between Blanche and this Mrs. Noble?
Well, she was related to her aunt.
So they knew each
They
other.
were aware of each other.
Right, fine. I'll come round and give you a
So
book.
she's seen him into the church a few hours later, and now he apparently doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know where she is.
Yeah.
She's getting worried, and he said, "Oh, I'll come round. I'll come round later." And then
Regardless of the fact that we don't know where she is.
we don't know. Yeah, whereas he assuming both between the two of them that she would just turn up.
She's right, yeah.
Turn up in the meantime, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, sure.
But weirdly, when he did turn up with the book,
Yep.
when he went around the house with the book, as he said he would, he weirdly started suggesting that she might have been kidnapped.
Oh,
And
just out of
possibly-
nowhere.
Just out of nowhere. And weirdly, then forced into prostitution.
What, in that, how much time had passed?
It's out a matter of hours.
Oh my
yeah.
God. Moved swiftly.
Where is she? I don't know. I saw her a few hours ago. Oh, a few hours later.
Having met her for the
Maybe
first...
she's a prostitute.
Yeah, having met her for the first time ever on the bus, on the tram or whatever.
So it would seem.
I'm pretty sure, she's gone into prostitution. What time is it?
I saw her at 2. 5, I didn't know where she was. Now it's like 8.
She's
She
bound
must
to have been forced into sex work
I'm
by now.
assuming she's going to say, yeah. I'm assuming.
Absolute.
Or maybe of
definite.
her own volition. Maybe she just wanted to be a prostitute.
In that 4-hour time
She's
period.
either been forced into prostitution or decided to go into prostitution.
Yeah.
I assume.
The church-going school teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
But regardless of that, she's definitely done that.
Definitely that.
So the aunt said, "Oh, has she?
Yeah, those three
Anyway,
words.
cup of tea?"
Where's that book?
Yeah. What exactly was the book you were going to bring?
Prostitutes of the world.
Exactly.
The A to Z
How to
of
put
sex
random
work.
women into sex work. Right, okay. So what was the probably baffled
Well, she
reply?
she was agog.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it was bizarre, to say the least.
Amusement.
The next day, Durrant went to pawnbrokers trying to sell some women's rings.
Oh, God.
But he didn't come to an agreement with the pawnbroker, and then a package was received by Mrs. Noble that contained missing Blanche's rings.
Yes.
So he'd attempted to pawn them, didn't do so, and instead sent them to her in a package. So
Just
basically-
randomly.
Yeah.
Weird.
By the way, here's all her jewellery she was wearing.
I don't know where she is, but here's her
Oh,
ring.
God.
I regret to inform you that the young lady has disappeared, leaving behind only this glass slipper.
Really weird behaviour.
It is very weird,
Very,
isn't it?
very weird.
I tell you what I'll do. I won't hide all this. I'll send it to her nearest relative, thus raising unbelievable amounts of suspicion.
The money couldn't have been the problem then. Otherwise, you'd have just taken a lesser amount rather than no money and post it.
Or gone to a different.
Yeah, you don't post it to someone, which will cost him money to do.
Sure, yeah.
Instead of taking the smaller amount the pawnbroker would have offered.
And about 9 days after Blanche Lamont vanished, Durrant had been focusing on another young woman named Minnie Williams. She was 21, also attended the Emmanuel Baptist Church.
Yep.
And not currently in sex work.
Not currently.
As far as we
know.
Yep.
She, on the evening of April 12th, 1895, Good Friday, was going to a church meeting, and she was seen that evening having an argument with Durrant outside the front of the church, loud enough to spark interest of passers-by. The next day, there were some women decorating the church ready for services on Easter Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the ladies went to a cabinet and found a woman's body inside.
Oh, dear.
In the church.
Well, everybody's entitled to a little nightmare now and then.
In
a cabinet
cupboard.
where you keep tinsel.
Tinsel cupboard, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dear. What a rubbish place to stash.
Yeah, terrible and obvious.
I'll hide the body in a cupboard.
Yeah, on where I go to a lot.
No one's going to go to church on Easter weekend, are
Yes,
they?
exactly, yeah. No one's going to use this... Oh, yeah, sorry, I for some reason I said Christmas things.
Tinsel.
It's not tinsel.
It's Easter.
No one's going to use this Easter egg cupboard. It'll be fine, basically. Oh, you obviously would have been fine if it was Christmas, because you wouldn't open the Easter egg cupboard. You'd go to the tinsel cupboard, which is over there.
If he'd put him in the tinsel cupboard,
Yeah.
no one would have looked for much.
Or
No one would know until August.
Yeah. Or the fireworks cupboard is down the road a bit. Right, so again, bafflingly, I'll put her in this.
Put her in the cupboard with
Yeah.
all the cups and saucers. And
Yeah, right.
tinsel and fireworks.
Yeah. And we're talking
Obviously.
about Blanche.
Minnie.
Right, yeah, sorry.
So woman number 2, Minnie Williams, they find the body the next day after this argument,
Yep.
which was in the evening, so it was like a matter of hours.
Sure, yeah.
So they call the police.
They're hid in the cupboard.
The police come identify the body, and they search the church and the grounds. And then someone says, oh, you should probably go all the way up to the Belfry, all the way up to the top of the church.
Search every inch of it! Search everywhere!
So they do, and there
Why?
they found...
That's what I was thinking. What?
You found something in the cupboard.
Why?
Oh, you should definitely go up into the Belfry then.
Why should I do that?
See, at this point, the police...
The only person who says that is Durrant, so he can push you off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Send you in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
See, the police, this body now that they found, they think, well, you know, Blanche Lamont was a church parishioner.
She's missing.
She's missing.
Yep.
We should probably look for her. But they search like the churchyard, they search the rooms downstairs, but nobody thinks to go all
Some
the
other
way up.
cupboards.
Some of the other cupboards, the tinsel cupboard.
In the cupboard?
Nobody thinks to go up to the Belfry until one of the parishioners says, you know, there is space up there. So they go up there, they find Blanche Lamont.
Where are we now? Just in the loft.
In the loft, yeah, basically.
And this is about 9-10 days later.
Yes, so she would have been not in great condition. But she was mutilated.
And again, very strange. I mean, even if they hadn't have found it that day, presumably it would start to absolutely reek sooner or later.
I don't know what the weather's like there, but...
Yeah, well, it would have probably been quite dry and musty. It would have taken a little longer, but it would have been, nonetheless, it would have been not nice.
Yeah, right.
So now the police are going, hey,
hang on,
we need to talk to Theodore
Durrant.
Yeah.
I better look in the tinsel cupboard now.
All the cupboards for all the seasonal
Any
events.
type of cupboard. Yep.
Now he's out of town because he works for the US Signal Corps as well.
Right.
With all his other nonsense.
As well?
As well.
Right, okay.
There's no war on, so he's doing part-time with the Signal Corps and his studies and his volunteering. But on Easter Sunday, he was arrested for both murders.
Oh, okay. So they got him.
They got him.
They got a person who they think did
Person
it.
of interest.
Because we haven't had technically, let's be fair, we're jumping to conclusions that he... I mean, all right, fine.
I did open with the conclusion.
He probably did both of them. But currently, in their eyes, he's a bloke who was speaking to them.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And if you're working in a church, especially in a kind of educational setting, you're going to speak to a lot of people.
Of course you are, yeah. And you're going to be, I would imagine, quite friendly with a lot of people, because that's the point of bringing them in, kind of thing. But I mean, as I say, yes, we're all right. We know he did it, but
well, we don't know that he did it.
At the time,
he was convicted.
Yeah, at the time, it was assumption, wasn't it?
Yeah. And bear in mind, also, he's been acting a bit weird, but it's not illegal to be weird.
Yeah, quite.
No,
he was.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be any of us sat at this table.
Yeah, I mean, he was being in the eyes of like Mrs. Noble, for example.
Yes.
He's a bit weird, but he did act in a way that made it appear that he genuinely wasn't aware of what had happened to
initially
Welsh.
With the old book ploy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a ruse to put us off the scent.
When every one of you ever offers me a book in the future, I'll go, I know.
That's why I have
you've done
a library in my house for just such an event.
Would you like to borrow it? Can I stop you there? Can I just go through your cupboards?
There was a lot of circumstantial evidence in terms of, all the witness statements and everything against Durrant. The best thing he could have done, arguably, was try and win the jury over to his side. Unfortunately, when he got on the stand, he was awful.
Was he really?
He was a terrible witness to his own case because he consistently and constantly kept contradicting his own testimony.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that never goes down well, does it?
Yeah.
Considering he was such a good, I don't know, really, conversationalist in church to, I don't know, welcome and bring people in.
Yeah.
He was no good on the...
You'd think he'd be a better communicator than a Sunday school teacher.
Exactly, yeah. He was no good on the stand.
Yeah. So
that obviously didn't help, did it?
Yeah, and also they were getting descriptions of the crime scene written by journalists. So they were using this sort of language that was very...
florid.
Florid, yeah, exactly. So if you say to a policeman, what did you see? It would be very formal and specific.
To the point.
Whereas you get, say, what was the scene of the crime, and you get the man from the San Francisco Examiner takes the stand and is like explaining. It sounds like he's reading a novella,
Yeah.
It's like, and so it's painting a horrible picture. I mean, a really
is it?
sensationalizing everything. So making it very
the dappled sunshine shone across the naked torso.
Exactly. But it's really exaggerating, and it's emotionally spurring the jury
to vote guilty.
To say, these terrible crimes of which we accuse this man.
Yeah,
and this man arguably has no defence because he was at the places that people said he was
talking to him.
And he said the things.
But arguably, if the journalists had been on the other side, they would have spoke. Delightfully about in his defence, and that may well have
arguably yes. It's what's also interesting is that he got a lot of female attention.
Yeah,
a lot of the reporters were women,
and
a lot of women crowded into the courtroom doing the process and all dressed in their finery, which is quite interesting.
Is that because he was of a pleasant countenance, or is that because just they liked a bad boy?
Or they wanted to borrow a book?
Well, he's young and he's handsome. He's a bachelor.
So Maud Lamont, Blanche's sister, gave an account as a witness of her sister's movements and things like that. One of the defence's arguments was they challenged what she said about what she weighed. They were saying, well, your sister weighed a lot more than you say she weighed, and because she weighed a lot more, he couldn't possibly have carried her up to the bell tower.
Okay.
Because he's a weak and feeble fool.
Right, okay.
And they go, okay, so your argument is that she's heavier than I said.
I mean, as a defence lawyer, you can understand that they went for that, because you're getting any old scrap on you to try and put people off the scent. But
yeah, the defence is sort of saying things like, well, he wasn't covered in blood.
Sure, yeah.
So
yeah.
he must be innocent.
You don't think that lawyer's going to be stupid enough to let him admit anything, do you? He's naturally going to deny everything.
He gave her a book.
He brought a book round. Why would you do that to someone if you know that they're dead?
Yeah. I mean, that is a legitimate question.
Why would you do that?
Yeah,
Doesn't make sense. We think that it must have been the pastor of the church that did it.
Right.
They're basically trying
Well,
to...
they accused...
The defence was saying it must have been him. He did it.
Does that happen much? Where they go, yeah, our bloke didn't do it. It was him.
Well, I don't think it happens now. I mean,
No, I don't think it does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's in the whole other court case. It would at least...
No, I didn't. Yeah, right.
But-
Wow. So they're trying to blame the main... Was he been the main vicar person?
The main vicar person. Yes,
Blimey.
the key church guy.
Wow.
Must have been him. He'd done it. But it didn't fly.
Did it not?
It did not. He was found to be guilty and sentenced to be hanged.
Right.
Despite constant protestations of innocence, he never confessed.
Wow.
Maybe it wasn't him then.
Maybe it wasn't, because he said it wasn't.
And people like that are notoriously truthful.
Oh, sure. I know, there must be some mistake.
20 minutes was how long it took the
course
jury
it
to
did.
decide,
Yeah,
of course.
sure, yeah.
But because his parents were campaigning for his release, he was reprieved a couple of times, and it was not until January in 1898, nearly 3 years later, that he was finally executed, aged 27.
Well,
but on the
cruise.
scaffold he said, "I'm an innocent boy who has not stained his hands with crimes that have been put upon him by the press of San Francisco."
Wow. I mean, on the basis that it probably never happened again after his death,
Yes.
would probably suggest that it was him. But was the electric chair invented by then? But they chose the rope.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not...
Would you choose the
It
rope?
wasn't a choice, it was states to states had
Well,
different...
somebody had it. Oh, right, I see what you mean.
So while Durrant was in, or Durrant, however you want to do it, was in prison, awaiting execution,
Yeah.
they made a film of him.
Of him.
Yeah. So an early filmmaker wanted to film in
Very
the prison
early.
and made a film of him to try and raise funds for his defence.
Right, so he was with a friend of his, or with him, on the...
Yeah, apparently it just showed him in... I mean, there's no extant version of it, so nobody knows what it looks like.
Right, okay.
It doesn't
But let's
exist
face
anymore.
it, he would have... The
So
three
just-
things that he did, the churching, doctoring, signalling,
Teaching.
are, they would be good things to hang the film on, so to speak. But
So it was just basically him in various poses, picking flowers in the prison garden,
yes, right, yeah.
being Mr. Jolly Goody Two Shoes.
Would he have had a large moustache? Probably.
Yeah, it was very mustachioed. As a style at the
He
time.
was?
Yeah.
Oh, right, good, yeah.
There was a play written about it called Crime of the Century, as all crimes in America are, which was running while the trial was still on.
They knocked that out quick, didn't they?
I mean, I assume it didn't have an ending, because it was still on the trial.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
Get to the third act to go, and come back next week for the thrilling conclusion.
And scene. Yes, of course. They wouldn't have known. Probably would have had a good idea, but mind you, it depends who would have written it. If the filmmaker had written it, it would have been, he's all right, kind of, he didn't do anything wrong, kind of angle. But, wow.
But, I mean, picture it in your mind. It's 1895 when these murders take place. It's two young, church-going, innocent women
Yep.
and a seemingly upstanding member of the community committed
Seemingly, yeah.
in a church. I mean, if you can be killed in a church, you're not safe anywhere.
Sure.
It's real, and
In God's house.
Exactly. Right near God.
So it would have been massive,
It would
wouldn't
be
it?
huge.
Because everyone would have been church going, pretty much, unless you were, I don't know, Native American kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
not of that ilk.
Exactly. And the treatment of the bodies as well. There was like, they're saying, oh, this seemingly upstanding saint is now this hideous, sexually depraved, necrophiliac kind of
A devil amongst us.
And bearing in mind, again, Jekyll and Hyde had only come out a few years before.
Really?
So the comparisons would have been...
So have we got any insight at all as to why he did it?
Well, I mean, it was suggested that he might have been manic depressive. There was claims that he visited brothels and things like that, so he might not have been what was shown on the outside, but they might have had a dark side, but whether it would be a murderous side.
Sure, yeah. But we don't know anything.
We don't know the reasons why he did it. Was it...
So literally there's no information whatsoever?
Yeah. I mean, was it medical curiosity that he mutilated?
Yes, sure, yeah.
Was it sexual gratification? We can only suppose.
Because he was hung.
And again, he protested his innocence, so he can't explain why he did something that he claimed not to have done.
Oh right, so we never ultimately got proof that he did it.
No.
Oh blimey, it's even more.
And also, because San Francisco, a bustling, thriving metropolis, some of the press are saying about the moral depravity of the city and going on a crusade of morality.
The city, not the church.
The city in totality, yeah.
Wow.
This happened in San Francisco. San Francisco is a moral cesspit,
horrible,
etc.
Wow.
If hellholes like this didn't exist, well, let's say I would give anything to be somewhere else.
Was the play anything? Because he was called Demon of the Belfry.
Was the play any good?
After the 1939 play written by Edgar Allan Poe called Demon of the Belfry. So it's just kind of a phrase that would have been in people's minds, maybe. So Demon of the Belfry, apart from being pretty catchy.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah,
it was the title of a Poe play.
A Poe play.
Poe play?
It's pronounced potpourri.
That's so funny. The last time I heard that, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur.
There was, in Boston, Massachusetts, 20 years before, there was a Belfry murderer, and he was nicknamed the Bat.
Man.
The Lizzie Borden trial had been 3 years before as well.
Yeah.
If you place this in time, Jekyll and Hyde has come out. This is 3 years before the Jack the Ripper in London.
Yeah.
There's a lot of a confluence of events taking place in this period of history.
Both non-fictitious and factual. Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't Durrant. Maybe the real murderer got on a boat and came to London.
Exactly.
One thing that has been suggested is that the Ripper was an immigrant from the United States. There are 3 or 4 American candidates.
There you go. Solved.
That's all for this time. If you want to know more about what we've talked about in this episode, Google it or something. You can listen to all of our previous episodes on our website, truecrimediary.co.uk. Please leave a review on your podcast provider if you can, or you can send an email to truecrimediarypodcast@gmail.com. My thanks to Jid and Roo, and to all of you for listening, and we'll see you again on the next date in our True Crime Diary.